Iowa State wide receiver Jayden Higgins has become a favorite for many fans, with teams picking early on day 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft. And it's easy to see why. From production to film, it all looks very, very good. But I do think there are a couple things that Higgins must work on to reach his full potential in the NFL. Now, when it comes to the stats, right, you've seen the production at Iowa State. It's been pretty good after 2 years at Eastern Kentucky. Contested catch win rate's been pretty good. Yards per route run has been good, right? And in terms of his yards per route run against man and zone coverage, both numbers at Iowa State in 23 and 24 have been very, very good. And in terms of the first downs per route run and first downs per target, he is ahead of both Golden and McMillan in first downs per route run, and right with them in terms of first downs per target in his career. So that's very, very encouraging from a numbers standpoint. So what do we see on film? All right, guys, so into the film, I'm taking a look at Jayden Higgins. We're going to start with the slant route, something that I think he's really effective at, just in terms of how he attacks it, right? Gain some ground, jab step, right, with pressure to throw corners off, and that gives him a lot of these wins, right? Little hop step and then the jab, right? And so that pressure is what's giving him, all of these advantages there, a little bit of good work through contact. But again, you gain ground in that jab step to the outside. It's the pressure that's freezing and confusing the defensive backs. And here again, a quick jab step as he's working that release to the outside, that gives him those advantages. Now, elsewhere in terms of his release game, there are some great flashes. Here against Iowa, you're going to see him hop step, and sometimes he has turned that hop step into a slant route, so it is giving him that advantage. He's able to set that up. And here, a nice hop step, and that initial acceleration is going to give him an early win to potentially stack and win down the field on routes going vertical, which I think is very beneficial for him. Here, again, jab step to the outside, avoid contact, work back in with the stem and stack down the field. Good process. Result didn't materialize, but that's all right. Here, good job combating contact, working off of that press, and then gear down, right? And then obviously what he does at the catch point's really good. But here again, it's a similar thing where you're working in a tight space, in a condensed space here near the line of scrimmage, where you have to work, some sort of jab step to the outside to dive back in. And he does that, right? There is some initial separation there. And here again, a jab step. And again, we accelerate to the outside to try to win vertically. So he has some impressive work with his release game. Here, I think, is a really good example of using tempo, right? Slow play it off the line of scrimmage, get the defender to keep shuffling back in that pedal, and then snap the route off and get a win. Here, we'll send it all the way through. But I think it shows you that Higgins has that ability, right? Really, really good. Late pressure off of that slow tempo helps him win. And here, again, slow, jab step to the outside, dive back inside to try to stack down the field. A little bit of a grab there as well. So he has moments like that. Here, you're going to get a kind of stem to the outside, work back in on this curl route. I think it's really nice stem work. And on the curl route, does a nice job walling off the catch point. So he has these good moments. And I like the vertical pressure he provides when he keeps his body language good. And obviously he's sudden enough. Look at the hip sink here on this curl route. He's going to dominate on those, I think, against off coverage especially. Right here, I think he maintains that good body language, pressing vertically, showing off that pressure that the defender believes it, and you're able to snap off routes like that. Really impressive. Now, here's one of my favorites. Little stutter right there, and you see him stacked on the field, but you see him gear down, and the defender slips. Really, really good stutter comeback route. Didn't get to see enough of these with Higgins, but I really like what I see there. In terms of attacking leverage against off coverage especially, he's really, really good. You see him quick dive to the inside, stem, and then that late pressure, right? So he re-stems back up the field, right? There's the re-stem. Now he's going to push a little more pressure back to the inside. And that pressure back to the inside, combined with some pretty nice suddenness for a bigger receiver, perfect stuff there, right? So, Higgins, when he attacks leverage like this, especially on this kind of skinny post here, right? Move the defender, cross his face. Really, really nice from Higgins there. And again, on these seam routes, when you can push to the inside and try to give yourself more space for throws down here, that's going to be very, very beneficial. Here, again, some late pressure there to the outside, and you have a win up the seam. So that's there. That's readily available to him. And then how about what he does on some of the in and out breakers? I think he does a good job leaning against contact, and then look at the hip sink, snap off that out-breaking route. Really, really impressive work there from Higgins. That's probably one of my favorite in or out-breaking routes he's run. Again, dive to the inside. Again, use your physicality, use your size at the top of routes to create some separation, and he does so there. Here, same thing, right? Lean a little bit through contact, but you see him be able to do a nice job sinking the hips and working to change direction horizontally. Here he does a little bit gathering himself, but it's a good win on a dig route. And to prove that he's an X and or a big slot at the next level, you're going to have to win a lot of these in and out breakers. Now here, great pressure inside, works through contact to stack. And once you stack a defender, right, it opens up the door, right? They don't know where you're going to go necessarily. And you have them on the defensive. Really, really strong route there on that outbreaker as well. And then here from the number 3, stem inside to move this safety, right? And then break outside, right? You have a lot of space, but ensure that you are going to have access to a lot of it. And I think Higgins does a really nice job of that. And then again here, right? Contact initiated if you must to create separation at the top of routes. Really, really strong. Now catch point, of course. We know how good he is here. Love how he keeps the feet moving through contact to get to the back corner of the end zone. That's what ensures him the win here. Right? Keep the feet moving through contact to go make a play on it. It's so good. And here, again, he's got enough long strides to stack. Late hands, good tracking of the football. Really impressive. And of course, you see these fade routes. Really nice job on that. I know the goal line fade is maybe losing its luster a little bit, but Higgins does a great job positioning himself on those fade routes for sure. Adjustments, really impressive. Again, when you're bigger, you have maybe a bigger catch radius, it helps you out in this category of playing receiver. But again, a really, really nice adjustment. Go low. Make sure you hang on to the football. He's one of the best, right, in terms of drop percentage. It's extremely, extremely low, right? But again, that adjustment just to come back inside a little bit on the curl route. Really, really nice. And here, adjustment and also high point at the perfect time. Got to love that from a bigger receiver as well. And then here, defenders all over him. There's no space for this ball. But Higgins fights through the contact and goes low to make an impressive catch. Here, back shoulder. He should win on a lot of these, especially from the slot at the NFL level. And then on this one, again, where he's getting driven to the sideline, but a great job fighting back through. Elevate as much as you can, and then get that foot down right there. Now, obviously, you're going to need to get 2 down in the NFL, but that is such a good catch from Jayden Higgins. And there is a little bit of suddenness, right, that can appear after the catch as well. Obviously, you've seen it with some of the curl routes and the in and out breakers, but he can be sudden after the catch. Pretty decent vision, and obviously a bigger guy to bring down here, ripping through some zone coverage, right? But again, make that first defender miss. He does so on a handful of occasions, and that will offer him some good yak opportunities at the next level. Here, just love the second reaction, right? You win the outbreaker. We're in scramble mode, immediately turns up the field. Process good, result not, unfortunately, but I really like what I've seen from him in that regard. Now, in terms of what needs to improve, this happens to him especially on the perimeter, where stem contact and press coverage can erase him. And there are some balance issues at times when he's playing, tougher opponents. Now, here's one where you go, oh, this is a really good rep. And I don't agree, because here's why. Again, a complete push at the line of scrimmage to win a slant route, we want you to win with your feet. We don't want you to win with your hands, right? Because against bigger, stronger corners, more patient corners, it's just not going to work, right? That they're going to be ready for, physical receiver play, right? They've made it this far because of that, right? Because they know how to deal with it. So winning on those type of routes just isn't going to work. And here he does a good job late at separation, which is helpful. But that initial contact certainly disrupts some of the timing of that route. But again, I do commend him for working through it pretty well. Now here, just running your shoulder in and pushing off and hoping to win on a route like that just isn't going to come at a high clip in the NFL. And then here again, stem stem contact initially right off the release, like disrupts the ability to stack down the field. Now you have to kind of, as a QB, make an adjustment, throw something back shoulder, and kind of the whole symmetry of QB and receiver being on the same page is a little bit ruined there. And here again, be adaptable. Gets cut off, right? He was working that outside to dive inside. We've already seen it from this game. Corners adjust. You need to be able to too. And just getting erased on routes like that cannot happen at a high clip at the next level. It just cannot. And so, and again, he does a nice job swimming over, but when you also lack explosiveness, it's a little more difficult, right? And Higgins does lack a little bit of that, right? It's not as, and again, he's bigger. So he's maybe being held to a different standard perhaps than some of these smaller guys, but at the same time, right, you have to be able to win on stuff like this. Now, watch his teammate and watch Higgins, right? Both of them do a pretty nice job stacking here, but look at how fluid and efficient one is here versus the other. And you probably saw Noel there. We'll show Higgins again, right? See him, again, drop shoulders and hips, but you see him drifting down the field more. It's not as crisp, especially against contact. It's certainly a bit of a struggle. When you lack explosiveness, a lot of these, drag routes and stuff like that are probably not going to be what's going to bring you production at the next level, right? He's going to struggle with that because he's just, again, not the fastest player, most explosive player. Now here, this is fixable, which is good. You already see him rising up, right? You don't see the shoulders down and the body language showing you, okay, this is anything. It could be anything. Could be a deep route, nothing. It feels like the corner is ready, and then when you see the shoulder dip, the corner is ready to squat on a throw like this. So the body language causes the problem there. Here, you already see him kind of breaking down, right? And because he's already done so, you see a lot of steps at the top. And I know, again, bigger receiver, so you got to hold him to a different standard, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't need to do a bunch of extra stuff, right? Especially when you're bigger. Just, again, work through the route with good tempo and good enough, right, through break transitions so you don't get into a position where A, you're kind of behind on your route and it turns into an interception, and B, because you're not explosive, you don't need to throw all that stuff in because you're not going to be able to maintain timing like that. And a little bit, contact in the stem here keeps the defender in the hip pocket on these dig routes, which is something that's going to be crucial for him at the next level. And that's what you see from Higgins, right? You see a lot of good stuff because he uses his size and physicality well at times, right? And you see how sudden he can be in the through break transitions because he can sink his hips, right? In and out breakers, the curl routes, all of that. But if you want him to be an X, he's going to have to get better with strategy, adaptability, and just overall work in the stem against contact, because that's going to disrupt a lot of what you want him to do. And when you already lack that explosiveness, again, it just makes it more crucial for you to have an answer for pretty much everything thrown at you in the stem in terms of contact. And again, that could be what determines X receiver versus big slot for him at the next level. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on Jayden Higgins. If you did, throw a like down there, subscribe if you're new. Plenty more content on the way very, very soon. I will catch you guys in the next video. Farewell.